Okay, and we're live. Excellent. Hello, everyone. Let's wait a couple of seconds to see if more people are going to join. Hi, everyone.
Hello.
So great to see so many people, 82 people.
That's amazing.
It's also lovely to see that you guys are chatting to each other in the chat box. Please feel free to continue to do so. You see there are a lot of people from South Africa. Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Hello. Wonderful. Okay, so I guess we can start. Welcome. Hello. I'm really excited to see you. I'm a little bit nervous, but hopefully this feeling will disappear in a second. It's been less than a month since our last webinar, and here we are back again with some more useful information for you guys, and with a great opportunity for all of us to discuss different aspects of our teaching adventures, daily teaching adventures. As you already know, the topic for today is level adjustment and prior knowledge testing. We all know that this topic can be quite contentious for both our wonderful Novakid teachers and teacher ops specialists. But what we want to do is to just clarify all of the things and make sure that we eliminate any questions or concerns that you might have in regards to the procedure of level adjustment at Novakid. Before I pass the word to Brittany, I would just like to mention that, as you know, the live stream is done via our Zoom conference, so we might expect a little bit of a delay in the chat box. However, feel free to, like I said, communicate with each other, send us your questions. We will definitely follow up on all of your questions, and should there be any questions unanswered during this webinar, we will address them in our upcoming teacher development newsletter, as always. Please stay tuned and stay till the end, because we've got some activities that will win you some prizes. And now, to shed some light on the topic of level adjustment, I would like to pass the word to our fantastic host, Brittany. Hi, Brittany.
Hi, Elena. Thanks for having me back again. I'm really excited to be here to share this month's topic on level adjustment, because as we're all aware, level adjustment can be a little bit difficult sometimes, but it's really important to make sure that our students are placed correctly so that they progress and everyone is happy. You're happy, the student's happy, and the parents are happy as well. I'm going to share my screen and show you our agenda for today. Today, we will start with our levels at Novakid. What are the age level correspondences, as well as what prior knowledge should they know? We'll take a look at level adjustment at Novakid and the three reasons and opportunities, not the three reasons, the three opportunities and the reasons you might want to adjust the level. We'll take a look at proper testing, both formal and informal, and how to use the prior knowledge guide. We'll look at some alternatives to level adjustment, and we'll even look at some level adjustment requests. Some of them will be good. Some of them are not very good. But we'll look at why and how we can make them better so that all of our students are progressing in the way that we want them to. Let's start with a warm-up activity. Now, Elena has prepared for us a wonderful quiz, and I'm going to pass it back to her so she can introduce it to us. Elena?
Thank you very much, Brittany. Right, guys, so to start off, I would like to tickle your brain a little bit and do a short quiz. As you are seeing the QR code on your screens right now, I would like you to use your phones and scan the QR code, which will take you to the platform with the quiz. And I'm going to share my screen to show you the results of the quiz. Now, I would like to mention that the quiz will contain some questions that have information on our curriculum. And if you are a newbie, please do not worry if you don't know the answers to the questions, because we understand that you might not have had a chance to teach across all levels at Novakid yet. Totally fine. So just do your best. And this is just for fun, but also to check our knowledge of curriculum at Novakid. So let's start. Oh, I see a lot of funny things popping up on the screen. So many people joined. Okay, keep joining. And we're going to start with the first question right about now. Okay. This is exciting.
I
What
like
level
it.
matches the description? So you've got a 5-year-old student who has already learned some English at an international kindergarten, but has no letter or sound recognition. Let's see, what level would you place that student within Novakid program?
These little icons are great. They're so nice.
I know, right? Okay, we see that the majority of our teachers place the student at level 0, which is a correct answer. Good job, guys. We all know that level 0 students have no letter sound recognition most of the time and cannot start blending yet. I do see some strange answers, level 1 and level 2, but that's okay. Now let's proceed to the next question. Question number 2. I hope that the answers are popping up on the screen timely. Let me know if there is a delay and I should take a little bit more time. What level is this slide taken from? Now, a little hint, you can look at the structure, at the sentence structure, and this should give you an idea. When do our students study this? Ta-da! Level 1, the majority of answers. And that is a correct answer. Congratulations. Okay, shall we proceed with the next question? Have the results been showing yet?
Not yet.
Okay.
Now they're showing.
All right. So we'll go to question number 3. Okay. What level is this reading slide from? Let's see, when do we learn some cool facts about Astro and his family? Time's up. Great. Majority of our teachers answered correctly. It is taken from level 2. Yeah. You guys are fantastic. And we have our last question. Get ready. This one is difficult. I'm kidding, it's not. Let's see. What level do our students learn about illnesses?
I just taught this yesterday again. And I was like, oh, I know this.
Well, now I know this too. Okay, let's see. You guys can see some hints with the modal verbs. "22 answers for level 3, and that is a correct one. Okay, well, guys, I am impressed. It seems like you really do know the curriculum and you know the content that you're teaching, which means that it's going to be easier for you to place the students at the correct level. And now I'm going to pass the word back to Brittany so she can continue talking on level adjustment and prior knowledge testing. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Elena. Everyone did so well on that quiz, which once again shows that Novakid teachers are the best. Now, let's take a look at the different levels at Novakid. Here you can see a chart that you should be familiar with already. It shows the age level correspondence of students at Novakid. Now, we all know that each student is different, so sometimes your students might not follow this chart. And this could happen for a number of reasons. In some countries, children start attending international kindergartens when they're 3 years old, and they'll already have some English knowledge by the time they come to you. Alternatively, they could be growing up in a bilingual household. So for these students, level 0 and the vocabulary might be really easy for them. Even still, you might have some students where they don't start learning English until elementary school. For these students, they might be 10 or 11 years old, but the highest level that they should be placed at is level 1 or level 2, because they don't have the prior knowledge yet. We also have another chart which shows you the different levels at Novakid. It shows you the different reading, grammar, and vocabulary that the students will be learning. And knowing what follows what within the curriculum will make it 10 times easier for you to place your students correctly in the different levels. Now, let's take a look at why level adjustment is so important. This is your first opportunity to win a prize because this is our first competition.
Yay!
On the next slide, you will see 4 outcomes of placing a student incorrectly in the wrong level. These are all negative outcomes. Your job is to find out what are these 4 missing words and type them all in one message in the chat. If you type the answers individually, you won't win the prize. The first teacher to type all 4 blanks correctly in one message will win the prize. One more time. We're looking at negative outcomes of incorrect level placement. There will be 4 negative outcomes. Fill in the blanks and type them in one message. Are you ready? Let's go. What can happen if a student is placed in the wrong level?
Exciting. We know you can do this, guys. Easy peasy. Yes, please make sure you put all 4 words in one comment so that you can participate.
One message.
Only the fastest one will win the prize.
I'm like nervous for them.
Me too. Ooh, I think we have.
I think so too.
Yay! I think we have a winner.
That's amazing. Oh, you guys are so fast. And I'm super impressed because some of them were really difficult.
That was Danielle, right?
I think so. Well, we will have, Lisa will decide. We will have our chat moderator decide who has won the competition, and she will let us know at the end of the webinar so that that person can receive their prize. But I'm super impressed how fast everyone answered. So let's go through them. Placing a student in the wrong level can result in their lack of progress. It can result in decreased motivation, lack of confidence, and increased frustration. But what does this mean? Well, lack of progress can lead to losing your regular students. Parents want to see that their student is learning during their lessons and that they are achieving something during those classes. Decreased motivation will result in poor performance in class. It might even lead to discipline issues, and that's not something anybody wants when they're trying to teach. Lack of confidence can slow down the learning process. And finally, increased frustration can have a negative impact on even the teacher's motivation, not just the students. And ultimately, it can ruin the learning experience. So let's take a look at the Prior Knowledge Guide. What is it? The Prior Knowledge Guide is basically an outline of the Novakid curriculum. It shows you what a student will learn in each level and what they are required to already know before being placed at that level. So, how do you use it? First of all, print it out and thank me later. At a minimum, make sure it's saved to your desktop. It's super important that you're able to quickly reference this during your trial lessons and even during your regular lessons. So find a way to have it handy, whether it's right next to you on your desk or right in front of you on your desktop. Now, next time you're in 2 minds about where to place a student during a trial lesson, look at your Prior Knowledge Guide. Choose the level you are aiming at and look at the competencies that the student needs to know, both grammar and vocabulary. If you look and the student checks off all of those competencies, it's a yes. It's like a formula. If there are some gaps in the student's knowledge, perhaps think twice before changing the level. You can also find more details using the Novakid curriculum in the portal in your dashboard. And you can reference both the grammar topics and the prior knowledge guide together whenever you have questions about whether or not your student is in the correct level. Now we've looked at perhaps the age level discrepancies as well as the prior knowledge guide. Now let's take a look at why you might request a level adjustment for your student. In the chat box, I'm curious, what reasons do you have for adjusting your student's level? You can give very broad and general ideas or specific examples of why you have requested a level adjustment in the past. Type your answers in the chat box.
Don't be shy, you guys, because you know that the most active participants in the chat box will also get some rewards.
Absolutely.
Why would you request a level adjustment?
What reasons?
Sorry, I'm late. Hello, Lauren. It's okay.
Don't worry, there's still time. There's still...
Okay.
Student is overwhelmed. Excellent. Struggles with the current content. That's great.
Great reasoning, Kristen. When the material is too easy.
Great. So we got both sides of the coin now.
Hello, Christina.
Hello, Christina.
Welcome.
Too easy, too difficult, hard time participating. Great job.
The content is too easy for the student. Student isn't able to cope with the grammar concept. Good one, Stephen.
Student completes all the material with ease. Very true. Oh, seems like the parent is coaching the student during the trial. Okay. Yeah, we will talk about that a little bit more later. Too easy.
After trying to simplify the lessons as much as possible, and the student is still battling to understand and apply the material. Good one, Megan. It's important to try and adapt the material first before you make a further judgment on level adjustment.
All right, these are all excellent answers. Let's take a look at the two main reasons that we have for level adjustment. First, the student is overwhelmed. They struggle with the material, and this leads to demotivation and a loss of interest. This is when you would want to adjust your student down so that they can build their confidence and build that foundation so that when they come back to that level, they feel more confident and they're ready to tackle it. Alternatively, the student is under-challenged. They already use the grammar and the structures, they already know most of the vocabulary of the current level, and they use it with confidence. Perhaps they're bored. They would benefit from moving up in the level. So we have two main reasons for level adjustment. But when can we adjust our students? At Novakid, we have three main opportunities to adjust the level. Some of these you can do manually, meaning you don't have to have permission from teacher ops or intercom to do it. Others might require more steps. Your first opportunity is during or directly after the trial lesson. The next one is during the first regular lesson. And finally, during the course. We'll look at each of these individually, as well as some examples and case studies about why you would change the level and why you might hesitate to do so. Let's start with our first opportunity, the trial lesson. Now, we all know that trial lessons can be a little bit stressful. Not only are trial lessons used to market Novakid as an amazing company and yourself as a great teacher, but they're also there to show the parent that you know what level their child should be at. The parents want to see some sort of result by the end of the trial lesson, and they want to know that you are able to place their child correctly. Additionally, placing a child correctly during the trial lesson saves time correcting the student's level afterwards, and it meets our client's needs. Now, during the trial lesson, you are able to manually change the level here using this little button. Here you can automatically change the trial level up or down by a full level. Now, it's important that you only change the level once during the trial, either up or down. Because the more you change the level, it's going to add more confusion. And it's ultimately not going to lead to a good learning experience for the student. So once again, please only change the level up or down once during your trial lesson. Now, this next part is really important. Whether you are new to Novakid or you've been teaching for a while, there are new level 0 trial lessons. These are already live and have been rolled out, but there are also going to be new level 2 and 3 trial lessons coming soon. And these trial lessons will all include new pop-ups directly above the teacher's notes. And these are great because they will prompt you on further level adjustment within the trial. It will help you accommodate for weaker students, stronger students, or even more advanced students. So these will ultimately make your job a lot easier. So make sure you use them when you see them in your trial lessons. Now, directly after your trial is your next opportunity to adjust the level. But why would you do this? Maybe you adjusted the level during the trial, and you regretted it. The student didn't cope well with the new material. Or perhaps you adjusted the level and the student really excelled. So you want to bring them up even further. That is when you have this opportunity. This is a pop-up form that comes directly after your trial lesson. Here you can choose to keep the student at the level that they ended their trial at. You could increase it by a full level, or you could decrease it by a full level. Now, here's an example of why you would use this after the trial lesson. You rescheduled a trial with a level 0 5-year-old student. The student spoke really well and seemed to be a little bit bored with the material because maybe he was raised in a bilingual household. During the trial, you level up to level 1, and you notice that your student still does really well with the grammar and speaking parts. But then you get to the blending and you realize he has no letter sound recognition. It's okay to continue the trial at level 1, but after your trial, you will want to move down again back to level 0 so that he starts level 0 for his regular classes. You'll use his regular classes to build on this blending and sound recognition foundation, at the same time expanding the material to increase his vocabulary and his speaking skills. So we've talked about 2 different opportunities to change the level by a full level. But what if you want to start at half a level higher or lower? And why would you? That is when you have your first regular lesson. Again, why would you want to change your student by half a level? Well, there are 2 main reasons for this. First, maybe your student overperforms in their first regular lesson. Perhaps they were just really shy and nervous during their trial, and they underperformed. You can start them at half a level higher. On the other hand, perhaps you have a weaker student who you want to help build their confidence by starting half a level lower. You can do that also during this first regular lesson. Now, before you decide to move your student up half a level during their first regular lesson, you need to remember that if you do this, you will be skipping the first 5 units of the level. So how do you make sure that your student is prepared for that? Well, the first lesson of every first unit of a new level has these amazing informal testing slides at the end of the lesson. You can test your student using these slides. If the student copes well with all of the slides, you can move them up to level 1 or whatever level it is, unit 6. Here you can see the prompts in the teacher's notes that tell you if they cope well, continue to the next slide. If they don't, you can go back to their trial or their first regular lesson and continue with the curriculum as follows. Here's another example of one of those testing slides. It's really important too that during this informal testing, you do not help the student. Because we're testing them, it's really important that they can do it independently and confidently. And if they can't, I would think twice before changing them and skipping half of a level. Now, we've talked about during the trial, directly after the trial, and during the first regular lesson. These are all your manual opportunities. You don't need permission to change your student during this time. And teacher operations and Novakid trust you to make the right decision. So make sure that you informally test your students and be confident in your abilities. Now, your third opportunity comes during the course.
Sorry, Brittany, I'm just going to, I want to address this question that we got in the chat. What happens with a child who is in level 0 in the trial, but the student knows a lot of English, can read and blend, and they're super bored with the trial, and even they're complaining that the lesson is too easy?
Well, if it's a trial, they can be moved up to level 1. And if they are ready to read and blend, then definitely keep them at level 1 after their trial. Because level 1, they're still learning to read and blend. But if they're starting at level 1 or level 0, I would be very hesitant to move them into a level 2 trial. So find more of a middle ground where you move them up to level 1, and then at the end, maybe request to go a little bit higher, or give them a few lessons at level 1 before you make a decision to move them up even higher. It's a lot easier to move a student up than it is to move a student down, especially when it comes to parents. Parents love when their students get to move up in levels, but it's a lot more difficult to convince a parent that their child needs to move down in a level. So be cautious moving up because you don't know what will come down the line and how the student will cope with that. So give them a couple of lessons to prove themselves before making that further level adjustment. Okay.
Thank you, Brittany.
You're welcome. Okay, so now that we've covered the manual adjustments, let's take a look at during the course. Now, sometimes you'll find that your student is struggling or they're really advanced. Maybe they're a new student or just a new student to you. That is when you would submit a level adjustment request during the course. Now, you can either do it here in the pop-up that comes after your lesson or through intercom. Now, this is important because if you do it directly after the class in the pop-up, you will only have that 5 minutes between class to fill out your justification. And if you don't think that you have enough time during that 5 minutes between your class, maybe hold off and submit your request later through intercom when you have more time to formulate your thoughts and to prepare as much evidence as possible. Because the more evidence that you give for your level adjustment, the easier it's going to be, we'll see this a little bit later, on the teacher operations team to fulfill that request. These requests all go to the teacher operations team. Now, I'm curious, how often have you requested a level adjustment during the course? Not during the trial, not during the first regular lesson, during the course. How many times have you submitted this form or messaged intercom to ask them to adjust one of your students, either up or down?
You guys should be seeing the poll in the chat right now. So let's see, how many times have you requested a level adjustment for your students?
I would say I'm probably less than 10.
Really?
I think so. Maybe not. I suppose you could probably check. You could probably check it out.
You probably could.
Exactly how many I've done.
I really hope nobody's going to answer with the last option, but even if so, then we will definitely help you navigate the process. Let's give it a couple more minutes.
We'll see. We already have 40 votes.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot. Okay.
And I see that a lot of you guys have to go back to your classes. Either way, thank you so much for attending. You will be able to watch the recording of the webinar starting next Monday. We will publish it on the teacher portal, so do not worry if you miss out on anything.
Parent has declined level adjustment. That does happen sometimes, and we'll talk about some ways that you can accommodate for that.
Right.
Just once. That's impressive, Arthur. So, can we see the full results?
We see 50 votes in. Let's just guess we get 51. I think people are still voting. We finished the poll now.
Oh, and yes, they can. And we're about to talk about what happens when a parent does request a level adjustment. It's a great question.
Yes, I also wanted to address this question, but I think I lost it. Just a sec. I had a student who, according to his age, should be at level 1, but he struggled with the trial, so I level adjusted him to level 0. And then at his first regular lesson, I immediately adjusted him to level 0 unit 6 without using the testing slides. However, he is now struggling. He's only had a few regular lessons. Should I ask for a level adjustment without further delay? I believe, Stephen, you're talking about adjusting him back to the beginning.
Level 0, unit 1.
Yeah.
I think it depends too what they're struggling with. If they're struggling with the blending, then perhaps. If they're struggling with the vocabulary, maybe give it another lesson. You also have to remember that if they're in level 0, it's going to take probably a full unit before they're comfortable with you. So they're probably going to struggle. I have level 1 students who struggled through the first unit of level 1 just because they weren't, they didn't know how I taught. They didn't know that I wanted them to circle when I used my TPR for circle. So if they've had, I would say, less than 4 lessons, then maybe wait a lesson or 2. But if you feel that they're struggling with the material and not necessarily with understanding you, then it's important to level them back down now. It depends on what your student is struggling with, whether it's understanding instructions or understanding the content. So if it's understanding you, then maybe I would give it another lesson or 2. But if it's understanding the content, then definitely request the level adjustment back down so that he can build his confidence, or she, before moving on.
Right. Yeah, I think it's important to just look at the reasons, true reasons for the student to be struggling. And we can see the results of our poll. 79% answered less than 10 times, never 11%, more than 10 times 9%, and
okay.
0 people think they don't know how to. That's really great to see.
Exactly. Now, let's look at informal testing. Sometimes it might be really obvious that your student needs to be adjusted. Other times it'll be much more difficult, and that is when you'd use your prior knowledge guide and informally test the student. Now, sometimes parents will request that their student be level, or their child be level adjusted. If this happens, Intercom will message you and they'll ask you to conduct an informal testing of the student during their next regular class. This likely won't happen during lesson 1 of unit 1, so you won't have those amazing testing slides to help you. So what do? First of all, you don't panic. What you want to do is go through the next lesson that you're going to have with your student, because you'll likely have a little bit of time to prepare. Find a free talk slide, because most lessons have them now, or another slide that lends itself to free talk. Use your prior knowledge guide and prepare a list of questions that you want to ask your student to test their knowledge. Looking at your free talk slide and your prior knowledge guide together, make a game plan. And during your next lesson, ask your student those questions. And an informal testing might only take 2 or 3 minutes, but you'll be able to find out and confirm whether or not the student should be moved. Let's try one together. This is Soleil. Soleil is in level 2, unit 6, and she often finds the material easy and she's complained to her mother. Her mother has messaged Intercom, and Intercom has asked you to perform an informal testing during Soleil's next class and then report back. You go through your next lesson with Soleil and you find, first you consult your prior knowledge guide. And in the prior knowledge guide, you go through and you find this free talk slide. And after consulting your prior knowledge guide, you find that in order to move to level 3, unit 1, Soleil needs to know and be confident using these things. We're going to work together to put Soleil in the correct level. Take a look at the free talk slide and the prior knowledge that Soleil needs to know in order to be placed in level 3. Remember, she's currently in level 2, unit 6. Let's think of some questions together and write them in the chat box. Choose one of the topics and create a question. And we'll go through some of them together. Now remember, this is a parent request. Maybe you have felt that Soleil could be moved up, or maybe this is something that you've never thought of for this student. Either way, you need to perform an informal testing during her next regular class.
Let's see what questions you guys can come up with based on this prior knowledge and using this particular free talk slide.
Ooh, how often do you shop? Good.
Good one.
That would test adverbs of frequency. Do you enjoy shopping? Good.
Mm-hmm. More questions. Hello, Zay. Are you just joining us?
Friends do you have? Oh.
How many friends do you have?
I'm missing. Like, I have so many friends. Do you like shopping? When do you go shopping? Great. What is your favorite cafe? How often do you go? Good. Who do you go with? That's excellent.
That's a great one.
What do you like doing after school? A lot of these are the questions that I wrote down.
Great minds think alike.
Now, what about comparatives? So I see a lot of countable and uncountable noun questions and a lot of present simple and present continuous questions. How would you test comparatives? Now, it doesn't necessarily have to be animals, but you need to be able to ask some sort of question. This is the one I found most difficult, was to think of a question to ask to test comparatives. What are you doing? What are you wearing? This is great. How often do you buy clothes? Good.
I actually think we used one of the slides in our previous webinars for comparative degrees of adjectives. No, not this one. And we did role play and you did ask me some questions to test my knowledge of comparative degree.
I remember that. It was Hulk and Batman.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's a hint for you guys.
So, which is better? Oh, coffee or tea? That's great.
Mm-hmm. Which pet is bigger?
Good. So most of these are questions that I have actually almost verbatim written down on my paper. So I'm not going to go through a lot of them, but for comparatives, the question that I thought of was more like you and your friend, who is taller? Because the comparatives that they're learning that they would be missing if they moved to level 3 would be taller, shorter, bigger, smaller, faster, slower. So I tried to think of a question tying into this, being like, who is taller? Or who runs faster? That's great too. Which hops better? This is all great. And The other idea I had, excuse me, was to do some sort of miming game. Like, we're going to a cafe. What am I drinking? Or what am I doing? You are drinking. So this would prompt them more to use the present continuous at the same time. But these are all great questions to test Soleil. So you've informally tested Soleil, and you've decided that she is great. She's going to move up to level 3, and you reported back to Intercom. Now, let's say you're going to make a request independent of the parent. You've submitted your level adjustment request, but now what? As you can probably imagine, submitting your level adjustment request is just the tip of the iceberg. After you submit your level adjustment request, it falls into the hands of our teacher operations team, and they're all fantastic. But today, we have Elena here to help us to explain the process a little bit more of what exactly happens after you click submit on your level adjustment request. So I'm going to pass it back to Elena.
Thank you very much, Brittany. Hello again, everyone. So as you can see today, I am also here to give you a better idea of how the process of level adjustment works from our side, because we at Teacher Ops really want you to know that we are trying our best to process all of your level adjustment requests timely. We do want to make sure that the process goes smoothly. However, it takes time sometimes. So let's just go through each step briefly. First things first, we receive a request from the teacher, and to make the correct judgment and to adjust the level of the student or not, teacher ops specialists have to review the lessons of the students. And sometimes we do have to review more than one lesson just to give us a better idea and a clear picture of the student's progress and the student's history at Novakid, or probably history of previous level adjustments. And so only after that, we can come up with solutions and suggest them to the parents of the child. And of course, the first one would be the suggested level from the teacher, along with some alternatives that we can offer to make changes to their personal curriculum, be it extra practice lessons or adapting the material to suit the student's needs. And only after that, the request is being processed by the client support, who in their turn contact the parents, of course, because we don't always speak the language of our clients. And then we just wait till we hear back from the parents with the final decision. And that is exactly what may cause a little bit of a delay for the level adjustment request to be processed. So on average, I would say, please expect the level adjustment request to be processed up to 5 working days. It can be quicker. Sometimes the decision is made within a matter of a day or a few hours, but sometimes it takes time, and we have to be patient because ultimately we all have the same goal, and we do want our students to progress. And to do so, we need to make sure that they're studying at the correct level, because only in that way the studies can be the most efficient. And so after we receive the final decision from the parents, we can make certain changes to the curriculum, and then your request is going to be fulfilled. So I would just like to mention a few other things that will help speed up the process and not slow it down. In this case, that would be, please try to not duplicate your requests, because this will only slow down the process, of course. And try to be as specific as you can when you submit a level adjustment request, because the more information and the more evidence we have to adjust the level for the student, the quicker the process will go. Otherwise, it's just going to turn into more longer correspondence, finding more information about the student's abilities, prior knowledge, etc., etc. So do not duplicate and be specific. I'm going to pass the word back to Brittany now. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Elena. I really feel like after hearing how long the process is, we'll all have a new appreciation for just how hard everyone at Teacher Operations works to accommodate both our requests and the parents' requests. So thank you very much for telling us all about that. Now, let's take a look at some examples of level adjustment requests. Now, these are all real requests. Some of them are great. Some of them not so great. In the chat box, please write or put a thumbs up or a thumbs down if you feel like this level adjustment request is justified, and if you think that it's actually going to change the level of the student. You can add in why, or simply just put a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Let's start with a really easy one. The direction is up. The current level is level 1, unit 2, lesson 5, and the teacher would like to move the student to level 1, unit 6, lesson 1. It's a regular teacher, and their reason is none. Is this a good request?
My favorite one. I see the sun zone.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kristen.
So we have no. Oh, Rachel, me too. I love teacher ops. They're so nice.
Thank you, Rachel. Thank you, Brittany.
Oh, Arthur said yes. Okay. Okay, Steven,
Terrible.
So, great. Now, we're not going to spend much time on this one because this one is fairly obvious that it is not a good request. There is no supporting detail whatsoever. Why would the student then be moved? There's nothing now. Why might this have happened? I like to think that the teacher didn't do this on purpose. I like to think that this was a request that the teacher submitted between their classes during that 5-minute period, and they realized they did not have enough time to put in all of their reasoning. So they submitted the request so that it was down, and then they moved on to their next class. Maybe they were hoping to submit another request later, therefore duplicating the request, but their second request would have had more information. So this one is not great, but maybe it's something that we've been guilty of in the past because we just didn't have enough time to fully submit it what we needed to. In this case, your best bet is to not even request a level adjustment between your classes and wait until you could submit one through Intercom. Let's look at our next one. The direction is up. It's a level 0, unit 8 student, lesson 1, and the teacher would like to move the student to level 1, unit 1, lesson 1. It's a regular student, or for the teacher, and the student can already blend sounds. She is 7 years old and she can answer in a complete sentence too. Is this a good request or a not so good request?
Feel free to give your comments, guys, whether you think this request is good or not and why.
Great. Good. So good. This one is also, this is great. Okay. Oh, it's true. She is almost level 1. So at this point, you could decide to leave her there. But between unit 8 and unit 1 of lesson 1, there's still 8, 9, 10, 11 lessons, because there will be 4 lessons per unit. Oh no, there'd be 12, 13, 14, 15 lessons for that student. So there'd be an additional 15 lessons. So you could continue on with the student. If, for example, they had classes every day of the week, maybe I would keep my student there. But if I know that I only see the student once a week and they're already ready to move up, I'm more likely to move them up immediately rather than wait those 15 weeks before they move up if they're already super advanced. So this would be a good request. All right, let's look at another one.
Lauren's comment, short, sweet, and to the point, but could be more detailed on the grammar structures she has. That is a good point. Yeah, this request is better than the previous one, but could have been a little bit more detailed.
Yes, good. Okay, so our next one, level or adjustment down. The student is level 1, unit 1, lesson 1, and the teacher would like to move the student down half a level. The teacher is a regular teacher, and the material doesn't meet the student's level because he cannot understand it well and has difficulty making sentences using this is a. Now this one I think is the most tricky of the examples that are here. Is this a good example or not?
Also, I see some correction, 14 units in level 0. That's right.
There. Oh yeah. So there's even more than 12 lessons. There's a lot of lessons.
Yeah.
So then I might even be more inclined to move my student up without waiting. So we have some no's.
No.
Okay, we got lots of no's. Student's age, no. Okay.
Not specified.
So, ooh, Stephen, very good. This is exactly what I was going to say. So if it's the first regular lesson, the teacher should be able to do it automatically. So why are you increasing the workload for teacher operations? You don't need to do that. So exactly, Stephen, if it is the first regular lesson, don't bog down teacher operations more than they need to be and do it manually. Now, it
And
could
spare
be that
yourself
it's not,
from frustration as well.
yeah, it could be that it's not the student's first regular lesson. So it could be that the teacher wants to move the student down. But again, this is probably not a very good request because we all know it can be a little bit difficult to move from level 0 to level 1 or from level 1 to level 2. Give the student a couple more lessons to get used to the unit and the level before deciding to change them. Yes, and so that's why it was tricky. Well done. Okay, we have one more. Give Steve a cookie. Okay. The last one is down. Level 2, Unit 1, Lesson 3. Moving down to Level 1, Unit 1, Lesson 1. The student is regular. This student is not yet familiar with the basic vocabulary of Level 1. She cannot blend sounds or read CVC words. Is this a good request or a bad request? Good, extra practice.
There will be extra practice.
Here's some yes, some no. Good. So this is a good request. By level 2, the student does need to know how to blend sounds and to read CVC words. So this request is justified. Now, will the outcome be exactly what the teacher has requested? Maybe not. If the student is able to pick up the vocabulary and the grammar, and their only fault is that they can't blend the sounds, it might be that the teacher and the parent and teacher operations find a middle ground. And that middle ground might be going back to level 1, but only to do the extra practice lessons for each of the units. And then once they complete those extra practice lessons, rather than completing the full unit, then they might move on to level 2. So they probably won't continue at level 2, but they might not move all the way down to level 1. Instead, they would take those extra practice lessons for each unit of level 1 to build up that blending before tackling level 2 again. All right, Elena, do you have anything you want to add?
I just want to say that you guys are fantastic and I love seeing how active you are in the comments.
Okay, let's continue. Now, that's enough with level requests that you've seen. So let's have a competition. Elena's mother has contacted Intercom because Elena is bored during class. She finds the material very easy and her mother would like her to move up. It's important to know that she's currently in level 2, unit 2. Intercom has asked me to perform an informal testing of Elena during the next class and report back to Intercom. This is the slide that I have found from level 2, unit 2. And I've created a list of questions using my prior knowledge guide to see if Elena is okay to move up. But it's going to be your job to write the level adjustment request. You should see a Google form in the chat box This is where you will submit your contest entry. The best entry will win a prize. Make sure you suggest the level adjustment, if any, and justify your reason. The contest will close on Friday, November 19th at midnight, Moscow time. One more time. You will be writing the level adjustment request for Elena. You will write your level adjustment request in the Google form, which you should see in the chat box. Make sure you provide as much supporting details as possible. And the best entry will win a prize. Elena is currently in level 2, unit 2. All right, Elena, are you ready? Okay. Elena, have you got a brother?
Yes, I have got a brother.
What's his name?
Alex.
Elena, full sentence.
His name is Alex.
Oh, wow, how old is he?
He is 10.
Can he swim?
Yes, he can.
Can you run?
Yes, I can.
Can you fly?
No, I can't.
Elena, who is taller, mom or dad?
Dad tall.
What is your mom doing now?
Mom cooking.
What does your dad like to eat?
My dad likes hamburgers.
What do you like to eat?
I like pizza.
How much pizza can you eat?
I eat many pizza.
How many hamburgers can you eat?
5.
What time do you eat lunch?
I eat lunch 1.
What do you do after school?
Play my friends.
What day is it today?
Today is Thursday.
Great. Where were you yesterday?
I go in the park yesterday.
Oh, wow, that's amazing. Well done, Elena. Now, I think that is probably enough questions for you to formulate your level adjustment request for Elena. Don't forget to submit your entry through the Google form that you should find in the chat. Now, we've talked about when you should adjust your student. We've talked about how you can adjust your student, but there is one very important time when you should not adjust the level of your student, even if the button is available. When is that? Write your answer in the chat box. When should you not adjust the level of your student, even if the button is there for you to adjust if you wanted to?
I love how convincing I was as a kid. Rachel
great.
says I've literally had students speak exactly this way. Yes, thank you.
I feel like you've probably watched enough classes too.
That is true as well.
Elena was level 2, unit 2.
Correct.
Stephen gets a gold star today.
Somebody gave him a cookie already.
Well, I'm going to give him a star because I feel like gold star. So you should, these are all great answers, but when can you not adjust the level of the student is when they have just finished a previous level and you cannot adjust them because it is not their first regular class. Maybe they have just completed level 1. It's their first regular lesson of level 2, but it's not their first regular lesson as a student at Novakid. So you cannot adjust the level of the student. Give them a couple lessons, and then you could submit a class or submit a request to teacher ops. Ooh, this is good too. If it's the first time you're teaching the student or you're a sub, good.
Yes, and I love seeing the answers where only one skill or one competency is lacking.
Good, good, okay. So let's continue because I feel like we're trying to stay on time. Now,
Yeah.
Sometimes your student only struggles with one or two competencies, or perhaps the parent has declined the level adjustment request. What can you do? This is when it's important to adapt the material to the student's needs. Also remember, there are unit reviews after every 2 lessons or every 2 units in the curriculum. They're already built right in. Use these to your advantage and select the skills that the student needs to practice a little bit more. Every time you select extra practice needed, a full 25-minute lesson will be triggered. There are so many different extra practice lessons for vocabulary, grammar, speaking, and even reading. You can check your competencies like this. At the bottom of the unit review slides, you will see student needs extra practice, yes or no. You can choose yes, and that will trigger your extra practice lessons. You don't need to ask anybody. If the parent has declined a level adjustment, this is your best option to help your student through extra practice. Now, let's say, for example, you select the wrong one here and it's disappeared. Or maybe you think that, oh, actually, the student can identify emotions. Don't worry, you have another chance at the end of the class to choose. Extra practice needed or no extra practice needed. Now, if you are to select speak about name and speak about toys using this is up, you are going to trigger an extra practice speaking lesson. If you were to select identify toys and identify parts of the face, you will trigger a vocabulary extra practice. But if you select speak about name and identify toys, you are going to trigger perhaps 2 different lessons, one for speaking and one for vocabulary. Now, ask yourself, does my student need a full 25-minute lesson to practice speaking about their name? Because if I click extra practice needed, I'm going to trigger that 25-minute lesson. Do I want to spend 25 minutes helping my students speak about their name when they've mastered everything else? Does the student want to spend 25 minutes doing that? Is the parent going to be happy? Perhaps instead, take 1 or 2 extra minutes to practice that one skill so that you are confident that the student can do it, rather than assigning a full extra practice lesson for your student. In the end, it will keep everybody happy. But again, if the student needs it, definitely assign the extra practice and assign it for whatever they need it for, because it is your best way of adapting and bringing in that extra practice, especially if you have a parent who doesn't necessarily want their student to be leveled down. Okay, I think we are ready for some questions and answers. I'm sorry we've gone a little bit over time, but I think all of this information is very important, and we've been having some great conversation in the chat today.
I totally agree with you, Brittany. We've got some questions here from the previous discussions. Let's cover them. What do I do if a student really needs to be dropped a level and the parents refuse? And I think we've got quite a few similar questions. So
that would go back to exactly what we just spoke about. So maybe this question came from earlier in the webinar, but assign those extra practice lessons. Now, understand that when you put in your request, teacher ops is going to do their best to find a happy medium. If the student and the parent don't want to move down and repeat the level, the teacher operations specialist is going to request maybe they just do the extra practice. Now, if nothing happens with your student and they still continue on, it's not for lack of trying. I promise you, teacher operations has done everything they possibly could to find a happy medium between you and the parents. But sometimes the parent's going to win. And in those cases, that's when I would assign all of the extra practice lessons. If the student struggles, That's a way that you can do that so that the student is still getting that learning that you need help with. So I hope that answers.
I think that should, yeah. We have one more question coming in. How about if we only have almost all of the competencies and weren't able to finish all of them? Should I mark it to a redo and click extra practice needed?
I think this is you meaning that you ran out of time.
Ran out of time. I didn't have enough time to check all the competencies.
Okay, so for this, it depends on if you are the student's regular teacher or if this is your first time meeting the student. Now, usually by the time the unit review comes, I already have it in my mind what I want that student to practice and have extra practice lessons for. So I give them the unit review as a way for them to prove to me that they can do it. But usually at this point, I know what my students have struggled with. So I wouldn't say that you need to redo the unit review or select extra practice unless you already know that your student needs that. Now, of course, if this is your first time meeting the student and you're unable to complete it, then I would select extra practice. If you are unable to even touch on it, maybe I would redo it. Or I would try to look ahead in my lesson, knowing that I'm almost out of time, and try to hit the most important ones. Because usually there's one that says speak about it, and there's also one that says understand it. So I would maybe go to the ones that say understand it, and if they can understand it, then they can probably also speak about it. So at that point, you need to use your best judgment. And if you think that the student could benefit from speaking a little bit more about it, then definitely add extra practice. But I think these are the cases where you've just met the student. Because usually, if they're your regular students, by this time, you more or less know where their strengths are and where maybe they are a little bit weaker.
Great. I think that should also answer Stephen's question. I think I missed it. Is it okay to, there it is. Is it okay to redo a competency slide to make sure that the student is competent?
Absolutely. Absolutely, especially if you have time at the end. So that goes back to the whole, does my student need 25 minutes to speak about their name? Maybe at the very beginning of the lesson, they weren't confident or competent. So at the end of the lesson, I noticed I have 1 or 2 minutes. I'm going to go back to that slide and see if I can change it. Additionally, maybe I won't even mark anything the first time I'm on that slide. If the student struggles, I might just leave the yes, no blank so that when I come back to it afterwards to talk about it, then I'll choose it then after I've had more time to help the student.
Keeping track of more questions coming in. So skipping slides is not illegal for a regular teacher on a unit review. Thanks again.
I mean, nothing's illegal, but you should try to hit
interpretation.
you should try to hit. You should try to hit as many of them as possible during the unit review. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Elena, but I'm pretty sure that the unit reviews for level 1 now change depending on if the student has done the game world activities.
I would have to check that.
Okay. I think I read that.
But I think there should have been an update on the portal for that.
Okay.
We will cover that. We will cover that in this newsletter that will summarize the webinar content.
Okay, fantastic.
For sure. And I wish we could stay longer and answer all of the questions today, but guys, we're running out of time a little bit, so we will note all of your questions down. We've actually already done that, so do not worry. What I would just like to mention as well, there was one cute question. Brittany, could we follow you on social media just to follow you and stay inspired?
Sure. I'm not really that much on social media, but if you want to find me on Facebook, go for it. I usually only post on Instagram when I'm like traveling away from my home. And so with the pandemic, that's not so much something that's happened in my life. But yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Find me on Facebook for sure. And definitely follow the Novakid career and the Novakid Global on Facebook.
Absolutely.
And
Mhm. And before we wrap up, I would like to remind you guys that you will be able to watch the recording on Monday. You might also already know that tomorrow we're going to have the same webinar, but this is just to cover the different time zones, so you don't have to attend the second time if you've already been present today. So for now, just be on the lookout for the newsletter on Monday, where we will announce all of our fantastic participants and winners. You will be rewarded with some additional credits and features on our teacher portal and social media, so stay tuned. Don't forget to fill in the form for the competition that's pinned in the chat right now, and we're going to send you the feedback form in a few seconds so that you can give us some thoughts and ideas on today's webinar.
And even maybe things you want to see in the future.
Exactly. Yeah. So please feel free to share your thoughts and your comments. Thank you so much once again. You've been fantastic and you've been so active, and we really love seeing how curious and how interested you are in the topics that we're presenting. We hope that these are helpful. We hope that you can share your own experiences with each other and inspire each other. Thank you for this. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Yes, thank you everybody for coming and for speaking and for sharing with us. And it's really nice to.
It's been really great. And let's give a round of applause and some smiley faces and hearts to Brittany, our fantastic host, for always making it so natural and lively. Thank you, Brittany.
Oh, thank you, Elena. There's a lot of hard work that goes in. There's a lot of people that make this all possible. And they all deserve our appreciation too. Everyone that's made this possible, especially our moderators in the chat and everybody.
Shout out to Lisa.
Yes, and Elena as well. You are wonderful, and we all appreciate everything that you do. And how
on behalf of the whole Teacher Ops, I thank you, and I salute you, teachers.
All right. Well, everybody enjoy your morning, your afternoon, your evening, whatever time it is where you are. And we'll see you next time.
All right. See you guys. Thanks again for your active participation. We hope you enjoyed it. Until next time.
Bye.
Goodbye.